Good morning, family. Welcome to today's Lessons for Life. Today is Tuesday, December 30th, 2008, and today we're reading in Leviticus chapter 2. And as I was reading this chapter, I learned an important lesson, and then I'll go into Lessons for Life. But as you read the scriptures, you have to understand that what you're reading is, on the first time that you read it, it's kind of like you just get the surface meaning, or you get the surface understanding. But as you read it more and more, you'll get a greater understanding of what the scripture is actually saying. Because when I was first reading this chapter, I was reading and I saw it said about meat and unleavened cakes of flour and then corn, and I thought of meat as it was talking, like even from yesterday's chapter, of the cattle and the sheep and the flocks, and I didn't, until I read it again the second time, I understood that the meat they were talking about was not even the meat as we traditionally think of it today. So even as you're reading the scriptures, you have to understand the time that it was written in, and the meaning for the words is not always the same as the meaning that we may have today. So it was saying meat throughout this chapter, but there was no, what we would call meat, mentioned in this chapter. It was talking about the unleavened flour and the cakes, and that was what it was referring to as meat. So that's one thing that we can learn, and I just want to throw that in really for Lessons for Life, just of how you read the scriptures and how you have to understand that certain words that you're reading are not necessarily what you may think of in your current time, because there was a different meaning for different words in those times. So like I said initially, when you first read it, you might get the skim off the top understanding of what it really means, but as you read the scripture more and more, then you get a deeper understanding. Now, as I was reading it, then it was talking about the offering, and it kind of really was confirming with some of the stuff we were talking about yesterday with the offering, and how the offering is not it's not really for the Lord either, because what you see at the end, well, not even at the end, but throughout this chapter, when they bring the offerings to the altar, then the offering gets burned, and it says the offering of fire, made by fire, and it's made unto the Lord. So if you're burning it, then it's not really for the Lord. So really the offering, as we was talking about yesterday, is really for you to have your priorities straight, or you know that these things that you're bringing as an offering is not more important than your relationship with God, or who God is to you in your life. So the offering is really for you. And I believe a lot of times people get even caught up in churches and so forth, saying that, the church is just about taking my offering and getting money from me. And my perspective, how I think about that, is it doesn't matter really, because this is about your relationship with God. And if you're willing to give up the offering, if you put that offering before God and you don't want to give that up, then that's your problem. But if you're willing to give it up, and you're able to give it up and recognize that God is a priority in your life, then that's how your offering is a willing offering, as we were talking about even yesterday. And that's when that offering is accepted by God, and that's when it's a true offering. So in the long run, or in the grand scheme of things, I would say, the offering is really it's really about your personal relationship with God, and it's not for even God, because like you said, like we see in this chapter here, that they burn the offering on the altar. So it's really about you and what you put before God, or what you allow to come between you and God, or what you feel is more valuable to you, and you don't want to give it up as an offering to God. So when you're able to give these things up, then you recognize really that God is priority, and He's the supreme authority in your life, and that He comes before everything else. So with that was today's Lessons for Life, really about, when you're reading the scriptures, you want to read it more than one time to get a real understanding and comprehension of the words, which might not mean the same as they mean in the current time that you're reading it. And then also about, once again, what we learned from yesterday, the offering. Now the offering is really for you, and for you to have your priorities straight and really know who's of true value, or what's of true value in your life, not the material things you're giving up, but actually God in your life. Okay, so that was today's Lesson for Life. Create yourself a wonderfully blessed day today, and we will talk again tomorrow.